I lived in a haunted house, and it wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. This story is true, so maybe it's a little boring. I was always a morbid kid who liked horror stuff and ghosts, and I used to say my dream was to live in a haunted house because I thought it would be a big adventure. I was around 8, and during my winter break, my mom decided we were going to move. Me, her, and my grandma. We found a house that was cheaper than the others and went for it. There were 2 floors, but the owner had separated them to rent out individually. We took the downstairs floor. The staircase to the upper floor was in our front yard, but it was closed off with a gate and a for rent sign. Despite a few minor issues unloading the furniture, everything was fine. The house and the place were kind of weird. They had a strange energy. It was almost like an uncanny valley. We had a neighbor who was just as weird, staring at us seriously and silently, which terrified my grandma. I didn't mind much because the street was pretty deserted, so I spent the whole day outside riding my bike. In the first few weeks, everything was calm. As time went on, things got stranger. My mom would come home late at night, and my grandma and I would be left alone in that uncanny house. The house was extremely cold and dark, even with the sun, even with the lights. There was a suffocating feeling that hung over the rooms without escape. It felt like there was a constant presence watching us. One night, as usual, everyone was asleep and I was the only one still awake, until from the top of the bedroom wall, through a gap in the hollow brickwork, here we call it a kogobo, that led somewhere in the house above, a yellow light came on. Then a radio started playing a song that's well known here, until it reached a certain part and the radio froze, repeating just one word over and over. Then a baby started crying, and a woman called out for someone, saying, "Go get the noodles for the kid." I heard all of this until I fell asleep, thinking that instant noodles weren't exactly a healthy food for a baby. The next day, I went out to the patio, and to my surprise, I looked at the stairs and the gate was still closed, and the for rent sign was still there. The house was empty. No lights, no sounds, no radio, no baby, and no noodles. So where did all that come from? It gets worse. The following night, everyone asleep, me awake again. The yellow light comes on again. I stared at that little holes in disbelief. It all happened again. The radio, the same song repeating at the same part, the babies crying, the woman, and the fucking noodles. I was in panic. If the house was empty, what the F was that? This went on for several nights exactly the same way. No explanation. Almost all the dishes we had broke. When my granny went to serve the food, the plates would fall far away. She said it felt like a hard slap that would send whatever she was holding flying across the room. She also said she heard footsteps at night of someone walking around the house in the early hours on the wooden floor. I only used the bathroom with the door open and talking to someone. For me, it was the worst room. We stayed there for a few months. We really felt bad, and it wasn't anything like the horror movies I used to watch.